Now, if Craig Burley is asked to work twice again in one day, he has threatened that not just him, but Shaka, Ali, Dan, and everyone else will walk off the show. So just a warning to the bosses for that. That's not the next topic. It doesn't say ESPN FC employees to strike. It says players to strike. Before we speak to the three gents here about what this story is all about, let's get a little bit of background from the press conference with a journalist asking Rodri this question.
You said a minute ago that someone's got to take care of us, take care of the players. Do you think it will get to a point where, after playing so many games or being asked to play so many games, that the players will say, I don't want to be part of this, and they'll actually end up like going on strike or not refusing to play in such a big kind of calendar?
Yeah, I think we're close to that. I mean, because it's easy to understand. I mean, if we're asking something, and I think it's something general, I think you ask any player, he will say the same. It's not like the opinion of Rodri or whatever. No, so I think it's a general opinion of the players. And if it keeps this way, it will be a moment that we have no other option. I really think, but let's see. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's something that worries us because we are the guys that suffer. So yeah.
El fútbol necesita reflexionar porque el objetivo es intentar de jugar menos partidos para evitar menos lesiones. Si esto llega a bajar el salario, creo que el objetivo es jugar menos partidos. Creo que los jugadores no tienen ningún problema a bajar su salario si juegan menos.
Okay, interesting stuff there about players potentially striking. So, we've got the revamped Champions League. We've got the Club World Cup with 32 teams. So there's a possibility that as many as 85 games in a season could be played by players. Is this a surprise that this has come up right now, Craig? Because I was going through some games and some seasons in the past, and I noticed that just over a decade ago, your former club, Chelsea, actually played 69 matches. So is this new now, these complaints, or has there always been quite a lot of football, just maybe not as much as there is right now?
Well, that's the point. There's just not as much as there is now. And it's getting more. And, I would boycott that FIFA Club World Cup nonsense. I mean, we've had World Cups, we've had Euros, we've had Copa Americas. You chuck in the Gold Cup and all that they play in North America. I mean, where's the rest? I played in the 98 World Cup. I played in the Euros in 96 and the 98 World Cup. And there wasn't much rest after it, but there was a little bit. There's just something every summer. And Rodri's not the first person. I heard Kevin De Bruyne actually about 12 months ago kind of making this point, and there's just too many. We're just adding to it now. We're just fueling this fire of, and I'm slightly hypocritical here, working as we all are in TV, but it's driven by the appetite to get more games on for people to see more, so as everybody can earn more money, and that's to the detriment of the players. So I absolutely think we're at tipping point, and I don't know when it will just go over the edge, but clearly some of these senior players around the game now, this is a discussion in the dressing room. It was never really a discussion in the dressing room when I played. Sometimes the games came thick and fast, but there was never any talk about there's too many games. Now there is, and these players are talking about it, and people, the governing bodies just can't go like that and say no, we're not doing anything about it, because things are going to have to, in my opinion, things are going to have to change. And I don't know how that's going to stop.
Oggy, Craig's just said we're at tipping point. And I think the Club World Cup and the extra games at the end of the season has maybe got us to where we are now. But you've got Carlo Ancelotti saying, look, players might take less wages for playing less games. That's not what FIFA want. What are the players' options here as far as potential action is concerned?
Well, first of all, the Club World Cup is the issue that's caused the tipping point, and this is why players are so angry. Because, and not many players are taking part, to be honest. There's only a select few of players, but the Champions League final is on the 31st of May, I think, this year. The Club World Cup starts on the 15th of June, so that's 15 days. In between that, there's an international break on that weekend in June. So this is FIFA. FIFA will tell you that oh no, it's no different. This is only taking the slot that was occupied by the Confederations Cup, which was the pre-World Cup tournament, which happens a year ahead in the tournament in the country that's hosting the tournament. That was an 18 tournament involving, about I think 8 or 9 games, and it involved teams like New Zealand and South Africa. It wasn't a tournament that had the elite of football. So that is the problem, that FIFA have dropped this club competition in the middle of a summer. So what are the options open to players? Well, I've been speaking to FIFA Pro in the PFA this week, and right now, their priority is not on a strike. The priority is that they are taking legal action against FIFA. It started in the summer. It started in June. FIFA Pro, the unions, the European leagues, which includes the Premier League, La Liga, are taking action against FIFA. So what they claim FIFA basically they've got a monopoly on the calendar, and FIFA are able to decide when their competitions are played. And they've taken this case to court. FIFA are fighting it, accusing the leagues of hypocrisy. So that's where we're at. And I think, so rather than focus on balloting players for a strike, the unions want to see where that goes. If they win that battle, then I guess that would, in many ways, render the Club World Cup impossible. But, we might want to touch on this again, and Craig will have an opinion on this, having been a player, not just at the top league, Craig played at different levels. For players to vote to strike in England, for instance, there's 5,000 members of the PFA. So the PFA would have to ballot all their members. Now, why would a League Two player, for instance, who earn maybe £500 a week with a mortgage and a family to look after, why would they vote to stop being paid, to stop playing and give up their income for what are multimillionaires at the top end living the dream that they want to live? Now, both parties have got their axe to grind. The players are playing too much football, but down the food chain where it is a job, are those footballers really going to come out on strike and give up their income and struggle to pay the mortgage because a multimillionaire doesn't want to play 70 games a season? I don't think so.
LME, which side of the fence are you on? Sympathy or no sympathy for the players?
Absolute sympathy. Absolute sympathy. What Craig and Oggy have been talking about are spot on. And by the way, I recommend everybody to read Oggy's excellent explainer on this that just came out on ESPN, which is, he talks about all these points. I have sympathy because we're forgetting about a few things here. Number one, it's not just a physical breakdown going from 70 to 80 matches. It's also the mental breakdown. These players are mentally, psychologically not being able to hold this any longer, right? Then there's also the component about the fact that you're actually ruining the product of the game. It's why we talked about why Erling Haaland's doing so well at the beginning of the season, because he had a summer to rest or at least rehabilitate. Players no longer have that commodity. So now, when you have 70 to 80 matches and you're playing Nations League and, Euros, Copa Americas, and now the Club World Cup, which, by the way, Gianni Infantino today is trying to persuade TVXX to buy this product, because right now there is no one buying it because they know that deep inside this is a mistake. So anyway, when you have players doing 70 to 80 matches, you're not going to see a player that's going to give it their best. And also, let's focus on the younger players, somebody like Pedri, for example, who is now a victim of so many injuries because of the overwhelming scheduling amount that he has to play. I have an absolute sympathy for this. Both Craig and Oggy are spot on. And I'll tell you something else. It's also an insult to the women's game because you got Euros 2025 for the women and you got Copa America 2025 for the women. So the Club World Cup now is trying to demand your attention and removing away from the spotlight on the summer of 2025, which should be all on the women's game as well. So there's so many intricate threads here, but ultimately it's this. There's too many matches, and I agree with Craig. We're hypocrites because really, we want to showcase everything and talk about it, but we have to think about the welfare of the player, the welfare of all these players, especially the young ones, whose minutes are now being overburdened, and as a result, they'll probably retire earlier as a result of it.
Oggy didn't offer me enough to mention his column on .com today. We've got to think of the welfare of the pundits as well, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a tough draw. But going back to the point,
Craig Burley might have to work 3 times in a day, and then it's all over. Right?
Well, I'm thinking 3 times in a week. I mean, but that's a push. Go back to the striking issue. Down the food chain, they're not going to strike. They're not going to strike. Right? No. So I don't know if they can pull it off without the root and branch. I remember, just to give you an example, at the end of my career, I went to Dundee. As you know, Matt, Dundee went into administration. I was in my 30s. I was there with Ravanelli, who was a buddy of mine from Derby, and I saw what administration and the potential of no job and certainly no wages for some of these players did to guys that never earned big money. For example, there was players crying. There was foreign players, Scottish players crying. They, girlfriends or wives were pregnant. Somebody put a deposit on a flat, and the rug is pulled under you. So, as Oggy said, down the food chain, they're living week to week and month to month, like most people in life. They aren't the billionaire, millionaire footballers. So that's just not going to be there's going to be no green light on that, in my opinion. You just can't sell it to people that are in League 2 and League 3. And I know they get paid relatively decent money down in these leagues now, but it's not the same. So you're not selling this to the players that are scrapping and fighting to pay their mortgage. So they're going to have to figure out a different way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think that there's one element that hasn't really been mentioned in this, and the club owners could stop this right now. The club owners are the ones that are, silent on this, because they know that the money is just going to make their clubs more lucrative. Any team, the Man City's, Chelsea's, Real Madrid's that might win the Club World Cup, you're looking to get apparently £80 million, $100 million prize money, which is, for 4 weeks' work is almost as much as they get for winning the Champions League. So all they care about is the money and the profile. They're not listening to the coaches. They're not listening to the players. They're not listening to the fans. The fans don't want this. That, as Elamy said, that if TV companies haven't yet bought the rights. So I received an email from FIFA the day after the Euros final saying we are now putting out to tender the bidding process for the rights to broadcast the FIFA Club World Cup. But nobody's interested, and Infantino has promised massive prize money to all these clubs. And apparently the FIFA are expecting $4 billion for the TV rights. There was a story that Apple had offered $1 billion, and it was turned down. So if Apple are prepared to offer $1 billion, FIFA want $4 billion, and they're not getting anywhere near it, how are they going to pay the clubs? So one rumor that I've heard doing the rounds is that FIFA are waiting for maybe Saudi Arabia to come in and pay for the rights to Club World Cup, almost in a kind of a live golf kind of fashion, which would, change the debate again. But ultimately, this Club World Cup is causing lots and lots of problems, and it's going to get very messy because, like Craig says, I don't think that the players can pull off a strike, because you need the kind of critical mass of your members to vote for it. You can't just have a vote amongst the Premier League players. That doesn't work like that. The union is a union, so that's how it is. So it's going to be an interesting few months.
Craig, I just want to end this by playing devil's advocate a little bit. There's 12 representatives will be from UEFA at the Club World Cup of the 32 teams, and 2 countries in particular, England and Spain. So Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid for Spain, so no Barcelona, and for England, Manchester City and Chelsea. So what if a Liverpool or a Man United or a Barcelona, none of the 3 of them are playing at the Club World Cup, decide, okay, we're going to do what we've just done this summer. We're going to go to America. Or other clubs are going to decide, hey, we're going to go to Australia again. We're going to take the money from there. You've mentioned, Oggy mentioned the owners here. Is there a little bit of, hey, you can complain with one hand, but as Oggy said, a little bit of hypocrisy here? Because if there's a lot of money offered in the United States or North America or Asia to take your team there, the owners don't think about players' well-being when they go there, do they?
No, but you still have to have a pre-season.
Of course.
So, and I think it's just common knowledge now that the game is so global and so corporate that teams travel. Back in the day, it was the sand dunes at Aberystwyth for Chelsea, but it's not going to happen anymore. You know what I mean? Like in a university dorm. You know what I mean? So it's just the game has grown, and so you're right. There is some hypocrisy to it, but you still have to have a pre-season, and a lot of these teams, be it from the Bundesliga, or La Liga, Premier League, they're trying to sell the brand in these countries. So yeah, I get your point, but you have to have a pre-season, and to me, California is still a better choice than Aberystwyth in Wales. So I'm okay with that.
It's close though, Oggy, isn't it?
Yes and no. Close your eyes, it might be, yeah.